Today we're going to restore tooth 30 with a crown.
Setting up for a Cerec restoration in our office is adding to what we already do on each procedure. Our tray setup is set up for diagnostic, to composites, to crown and bridge, to Cerec. To be able to get our bite registration we would need. Bite, we of course have articulating paper, but he also likes to have shim stop to double check. But before we do any of that, we would set our patient up in an isolite that goes into the mouth and isolates and lightens and suctions. It is just wonderful. Okay, we're going to place the isolite at this time, and then we will push back to get behind the second molar and the retromolar pad area. Perfect.
All right, so we're going to do number 30 first, and this restoration is going to be designed in correlation mode. We're going to be using an instrument to powder with called the Powder Pro. Now the nice thing about this is that I have so much control that I've found that I do not need any adhesive on the teeth themselves in order to powder properly. So let's take a look at how this is done. And I'm going to blow the excess powder off. A little bit of air. And now we're ready to take our images. So you can see Lori's turned the isolite off now, and I'm ready to take my occlusion images. I'm going to start over number 30, the tooth that we intend to restore, and I'm going to position the camera so that its angulation represents the path of insertion for the restoration that we're planning. Do that, and then tap my foot to save it. Next, I'm going to take an image of the second molar. And one a little bit further to the mesial. So the next step will be to rinse all the powder off. So first I'm going to remove the decay and the old restoration and then refine the prep. Remove the remainder of the decay and then we'll take a look. Now we're going to powder the preps. The idea is that I want a very thin layer of powder. All right, so I'm going to take the preparation images in exactly the same fashion as I did the occlusion images. So I'm going to insert the camera and center the crosshair right over the prep. And then I'm going to go back to the mouth and capture another image of the second molar, again with the same path of insertion, and then I'm going to come back to the second premolar. We can go ahead and rinse off all that powder. And while she completes that, I can begin doing the design for this restoration. Now that we tried the restoration in and we confirm that the margins are closed and that the proximal contact has the appropriate strength, it's time to prepare the ceramic for bonding. The polishing technique is very simple. I'm going to use dye shine and a stiff Robinson bristle brush. I'm going to go all the way from milled to high shine in one step. So let's take a look at that. All right, so I've got a Robinson bristle brush. I've got some dye shine, and I simply want to load the brush with dye shine. The technique is to apply ample pressure and to work in the direction of the deepest crevices or fissures in the occlusal surface. Next, I'm going to go around the proximal surfaces and do the same thing. So again, a very fast 2-minute polishing technique, and now we're ready to clean this restoration and then acid etch it for bonding. So the next step is to dry and then to place the etchant. Go ahead. Now that that's been done, we'll place some silane and let that sit for 1 minute again. But in this case, we're not going to rinse the silane off. We're just going to air dry it. Okay, now we're ready to bond the restoration in place. We've etched it, we've silanated it, we've polished it, and now it's just a simple matter of drying the tooth and placing some bonding agent and then using a dual cure resin luting agent. Now we're going to use a material called Voco Futurabond, which is a 2-part system that you mix by pressing like that. Now this material is applied in 2 coats. So I'm going to apply a first coat, and I'm going to scrub it into the dentin for 20 seconds. Then we're going to air thin it. Then we're going to apply a second coat. Next, I want to light cure this. Now, in order to bond this in place, I'm using some Voco Bifix Universal Shade. Load this directly into the crown. Like that. And now we're ready to place the restoration.